Welcome to episode 12 of the Takes from Logo podcast. I'm Jonah Middleton here with Theo Mandelbaum, Connor Hart, and Max Voorhees. We have a really exciting episode today. We're going to be talking about the trade deadline. Before we get started, today is Wednesday, February 16th. This probably won't come out till
20th, probably. Something like that.
Well,
19th.
Friday or Saturday.
This weekend. If I can possibly edit Friday night, then I will.
Which I don't know if that's gonna happen.
You'll get it.
Yeah.
You'll get it the weekend that it's coming out. So it is recorded a few days ahead. We are a couple days late from when the trade deadline ended, but this is the best time we had to get a decent number of people together.
There shouldn't be any breaking news.
No.
So we should be good.
Speaking of getting everybody together, we'll start off with our newly introduced injury reserve. Max has returned from injury, fortunately. He was really going through it last episode with a couple different injuries. Do you want to tell us how you recovered, or did you even listen?
How I recovered?
He didn't listen. With Noah, he's out today with crippling indecisiveness and fatigue. We got an alert basically right before we started recording saying that he was unable to attend. We figured it was because of reasons beyond his own, and he actually said it was his decision. So
Just a bad friend through and through.
yeah, really a horrible person.
Exactly. Speaking of no breaking news, like Connor said, there is Noah who breaks promises.
Oh,
wow.
And then next we have Brian. Who did you just link to? Never mind. Actually,
never mind.
irrelevant. Next we have Brian, who's out with load management. He said one thing in the group chat today, which is "I can't," and that's all we've heard. So
Busy man.
yeah, I'm sure he's. Really
And he still
upset.
texts more than Max does. So
That's probably not valid.
Uh,
Total cumulative amount of texts, I would say Brian takes second to last.
I'm
over Max.
also
a busy man.
I don't
Except
know. Noah's
when-
less than Brian too.
I don't know. When Max does text, he texts a lot. With Noah, it's like you're not getting more than 3 a day. Actually,
Thank you.
Noah,
if Noah's mad about something.
Actually, no, you're right. If he's talking about the Knicks, it'll be like 17.
I was about to say Brian's data may be a little skewed because when he's like talking about NCAA or something, or even when he's raging, there's a lot of text. But then when he's not, there's not that many.
Yeah, Brian just gets. I mean, we all get upset about various things, but Brian's probably the most various, if I had to say.
Yeah. He's got a very diverse portfolio.
Things to be mad at.
Yeah.
There's his work. There's
Work,
driving.
parents.
Oh, right.
Driving is a very big one.
That's a good one, too.
NCAA
I
12
don't know if I can say.
on the Xbox
Probably not.
360.
He just gets. He's a very angry person.
Sometimes.
He has extremes.
Yes,
He
I wouldn't say
varies.
he's bipolar,
Most of the time, no.
but he's like.
Most of the time he's not angry, but then when he gets angry, it's pretty.
It's
pretty
really funny.
It's quite humorous.
It really ends up being comic relief. Anyways, we've got a lot of trades to talk about. This is one of the better trade deadlines in NBA history, especially one of the better ones in the past couple of seasons.
I can't think of one even a trade that was more impactful.
Yeah.
Like most of the time when you see like trade deadline, the headliners are like some borderline all-stars. But for once we actually have like super marquee names that aren't dealt in the offseason for once. So it's kind of crazy.
We had a lot of teams choose their direction,
Which is
or
good.
stay in the direction that they're in, and that's going to be the first team we talk about. Lord help the Portland Trailblazers. Who decided.
I have no idea what happened.
We're
gonna
going to talk about them.
Okay.
But their mentality this trade deadline was, we've had Dame for long enough, and we're going to keep him here and still not win a championship with him. So let's create a bunch of cap space so that we can sign some mediocre free agents in the offseason, which is nothing different than what they've done the past however many years, and it hasn't worked.
They're gonna get Evan Turner again.
Right.
Or they'll re-sign Robert Covington to a $25.
They'll get Evan Turner and
$25
Ricky
million.
Rubio to really help Lillard win a championship.
And his
start off-
Cantor on $10 million.
Yeah. Well,
And his Freedom. My bad.
I was gonna say
Ow.
freedom now, right?
yeah, we apologize, Mr. Ennis. We'll start off with them trading Norman Powell and Robert Covington to the Clippers. In return, they get Eric Bledsoe, Justice Winslow, Keon Johnson, and a 2025 second-round pick from Detroit. So Norman Powell going to the Clippers, I think, is really, really good for them, especially next season when they get back healthy. Blazers, again, just getting low contracts / expiring contracts that won't do anything for them
No.
now, and it won't let them sign anybody better. That's
You
my
look
take
like you
on it.
disapproved of that. Raised your hand.
It's always when the Clippers are healthy next season, blah blah blah. So, is it ever going to happen? Like, are we ever going to see the Clippers healthy? Because if we don't, then Norman Powell is just going to get his value up, and then require a bigger contract the next time he's a free agent.
He's under contract for 4 more years, dude.
That's fair, but
Like-
I mean, there's only so long before
4 years exactly.
Kawhi and Paul George end up splitting up with the Clippers. And if if the same thing that's been happening for the last 3 years keeps happening, then they will somewhat soon. And I don't assume that Norman Powell's play will get worse if they leave. And then after 4 more years, he will require more money.
I'm just saying, like, this is a legitimate question to y'all. It's kind of off topic. Even like when the Clippers get healthy, do they scare you as like a championship contender anymore?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Really?
because they took the Suns to 6 last year with no Kawhi whatsoever.
I was gonna say,
The
that's
Suns were
very-
missing Chris Paul though for a majority.
is
of
Kawhi
the
still
series
hurt?
as well.
Like, I don't. What's up?
His
with
ACL's torn.
It's still torn. Wow. Okay, bro.
Well, he's recovering from it.
I
There's a
think I did
chance
hear
he's
he was a
back
little
in.
bit ahead of schedule, but he won't be back till next season. There's no point.
Unless they really want to rush him for the playoffs, but I doubt it. Considering
think it's worth
Kawhi in his career has never come back from anything fast enough. That's not a shot. That's just like he's taken his time with rehabbing and he's done the load management and stuff. And then PG is eternally hurt. He's honestly like he low key is like what we think of Joel Embiid, but he's like the actual version of that. Because at least Joel, this past season and a half, his conditioning and his stuff, he's actually only missed probably like 20-something games. PG is just eternally injured for half the season.
And they're all like really minor things for the most part, or not
This
minor,
is
but they're
not
things that
This is
you
an
like,
elbow.
want to.
Like,
Yeah, they're kind of abnormal, and like he's had his shoulder problems, but those have been on and off. It's not like he has a big injury and he's out for a while.
ice
Yeah.
in the shoulder after shooting like 20%.
Yeah.
the toward 8 games anyway.
So yeah, that was the Blazers' first move.
And then
Again,
let's-
trying to create cap space for whatever reason. There's not even that many good free agents. We can talk about that later.
let's just talk about the second.
The next one was one of the more extravagant trades, the deadline, and they finally got rid of McCollum. They're going to send him to, or they already have sent him to New Orleans for McCollum, Larry Nance Jr., and Tony Snell. In return, they got Josh Hart, kind of got Nickeil Alexander-Walker, Tomas Satoransky, and, oh Lord, Didi Louzada.
How do you kind of get someone?
We'll talk about. They ended up flipping him, and they also got 3 picks, 1 first rounder, 2 seconds.
That's a pick this year, but I don't know whose pick that is. I don't think it's the Pelicans.
Theirs. It's just protected.
Are we sure? I think it's lottery protected. No, you're right.
It's
You're right.
probably heavily protected.
I think it's lottery protected, and it conveys either next year or the year after.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I think the Pelicans getting McCollum is really, really good. Actually,
it's cool for them. They tried to bring in Devontae Graham. He's all right, but I feel like CJ is just like the souped up version of that. Now they just need to fix their defense before next season, and they could probably push for a play-in if Zion still exists.
Honestly, the
Just drop off the face of the planet.
the Larry Nance Jr. pickup is good for them.
Mm-hmm.
He's really solid. Portland gave up a first for him in the offseason, and now they flip him with CJ McCollum. Dude, Portland. Do we want to talk about Portland's direction really quick? Like, just talk about how.
I don't want to spend too much time on them
We can be
because I
fast.
hate talking about them.
Well, no, they honestly did what we thought Indiana would do, and like just refuse to. They think that they can still compete with Dame, which unless James Harden, well, actually no, he's not even going to be a free agent anymore because he opted into
Mhm.
his player option. The best free agents on the market are like Kyrie, and then there's like the drop off is pretty precipitous.
Zach LaVine is
Yeah.
there, but he's not going to leave. I don't
I
think.
think they're like I think the biggest signing they could realistically get, and this is if everything goes right, is if they tried to fully max out Ayton and the Suns don't match, which I think it's more likely to be a sign and trade. So they had to give some of these assets too. Which at that point it's like, is DeAndre Ayton really that much better than the combination of Yusuf Nurkic and like CJ? Probably not, right?
No.
No.
The Blazers are lost. They don't. They have
Guidance.
Nothing good going for them, considering how it's been this season with Dame.
They should trade for Beal if they really.
I was
want
about to
push.
say,
For
what are they going to
Beal.
do? Give up nothing for Beal? Because
They could trade Simons for Beal. A Simons space.
you think they could trade Simons for Beal?
as the
It'll
package
take a
around them?
lot
Maybe.
more than that.
Yeah.
But what is the
Simons-
package gonna
Simons,
be?
what, and what? Because
I don't think I think it's less of the package being good and more that the Wizards will refuse to pay Beal the supermax.
I doubt that. I know our front office well enough to know that we will probably pay him the supermax.
That doesn't mean your owner will like it.
Ted
How,
Leonsis?
yeah, how close
He's
are
always
dropping those.
he's always wanted to pay, like, as a franchise, we've always given in to what the players want in terms of money. Like, we always give them contracts.
Yeah, but y'all just got burned by that with the John Walsh stuff. Is he really going to want to pay the luxury tax for a team that has shown that they can't make the playoffs? I feel like that's. I'm not saying that it's likely, but maybe this is Portland's end game, that they don't need to match salaries. Instead, they can just give young players and picks.
Connor,
Nasir Little's also pretty interesting. I'm not saying that this is a good package. I'm just saying it's a package.
no, I know what you're saying in terms of why we would trade Beal.
Yeah.
But we have made it kind of clear that we are going to hold on to every star we have until they're not a star.
Portland.
Exactly.
Sounds like what they're doing.
Y'all are
Y'all
the
are
Portland of
insane.
the East, Theo. How does that make you feel?
I don't even care.
I was just trying to aggravate you. You're fine. Okay. Do we
Well,
want to get into the rest of the deals?
yeah, we'll transition. That trade actually works well for our next one. That was an awkward pause.
You're good.
So I said they kind of get Nickeil Alexander-Walker, and that's because they had him for enough time for him to fly to Portland and then get traded immediately after.
Okay.
He's going to Utah with Juancho Hernan-Gomez.
Ooh.
This is a 3-team trade. So Alexander Walker from Portland's going to Utah. Hernan-Gomez from San Antonio is going to Utah. The Blazers get Joe Ingles, Elijah Hughes, and a second-rounder, all from Utah. And the Spurs get Satoransky from Portland and a second-round pick from Utah. Kind of insignificant for the most part. Ingles to Portland, I hate it because he's old.
He's on an
He
expiring
spaces
deal.
the floor. He's injured for the rest of the year. Oh, he's expiring?
Yeah, he's expiring.
Okay, never
That's why
mind.
they did it.
Again, this is I still hate it. This is their approach to get cap space to sign nobody. So either way, Portland is just a monstrosity, and I hate even talking about them.
How did the Spurs get a better package back than the Jazz did, bro? Than the Blazers did for
Oh.
trading Nikhil. That doesn't make
Yeah.
any sense.
No, I think the Jazz getting Alexander Walker is great. I'm going to be super, super biased. He's one of my favorite
I
players
think
in the league.
he is like the scoring punch they need. Although he doesn't fix what the Jazz's problems are, but why not go ahead?
He'll
With
provide
asset
some
management.
spacing, some good playmaking. Still a very, very young player. And I was listening to somebody else talk about the trade. And they were just pointing out how the Jazz do very, very well with development. They'll take guys from, lower draft picks and turn them into really, really good players. We've seen that with Gobert. Donovan Mitchell was a low lottery guy.
Most of
and
their
Alexander
depth-
Walker has potential to
Royce O'Neal.
be very, very, yeah.
But I mean, I think that it's cool for them. I think that although they do have a player similar with Clarkson, I feel like that backcourt duo off the bench is gonna get buckets.
Yeah.
And that's what, if they can just find a way to defend somebody in the playoffs, hey, defensive player of the year, you might want to get on that. But yeah, this should be fine.
Can we ever talk
Gobert
about?
debate.
Can we ever? No, it's not even a Gobert debate. It's just, can we talk about the Jazz a singular time without there being a Gobert diss in there? Like, it just
It's
gets
not-
old.
it's not-
even. It's not even because
It's
I
not even
disagree.
no. It's not his
even 'cause
fault.
I
It's not his
disagree.
fault.
It's not even because I disagree. It's just because it gets old hearing the same diss every time we talk about
What's
the
the
Jazz.
what's the diss? Why
Because
what's-
Gobert, no, it's not even Gobert's fault. It's that he's expected to literally defend whole teams in the playoffs, and they just run 5 out against him, and his value
What is
completely
this?
diminishes.
No. You have completely changed your narrative.
No,
you used to just Gobert. Oh, Gobert can't defend.
Can I
the
explain
perimeter.
why?
Oh, Gobert is not that good. of a
Just like
defender.
that.
Oh,
Can I explain
And
why?
now you're like, oh, well, people expect him to do too much.
I'll explain
What?
it, Max. So Gobert, pretty much against a team that's not running 5 out, defends literally everyone that comes into the paint and does it very well. That's why he
Yeah,
wins
it's
Defensive
terrible.
Player of the Year, and he has multiple Defensive Player of the Years, right? But when teams like the Clippers last year run Marcus Morris, who's 6'8" at center, and he can shoot threes,
Yeah.
then it's like, what is he doing? Because he's
Kinda
too
falls
slow
apart.
to.
Can't close
yeah,
it out.
exactly.
And he can't punish people on the other end. And can I explain why I'm changing my tune on Gobert?
'Cause you got called out.
No, because I desperately want him to make the All NBA third team over Cat, so we do not need to pay Cat the supermax.
It
So-
all revolves around the Timberwolves.
So the media keep voting Gobert into that All NBA third team. You're just helping us build the dynasty, baby. Let's go.
All connects back to the Timberwolves.
It does.
somehow.
per usual. All right, yeah. So I think the Jazz got a really, really big W.
Yeah, but that's a dub for them.
So,
Very big dub.
It is.
Let's talk about another kind of insignificant one.
Yeah, that's
The Raptors get Thaddeus Young, Drew Eubanks, and a second rounder from the Spurs. And the Spurs get Goran Dragic and a first round pick from this year. They're going to buy out Dragic. We'll see where he ends up going.
Can I explain what the pick situation is?
Yeah.
So I'm
You know,
pretty sure that the second the Raptors got, I believe it is from the Pistons, which will probably be like 31. And then I think the first rounder is, I forget what team it's from, but it's going to be around like the mid to late 20s. So they basically traded up like 8 spots. So the Spurs essentially traded up 8 spots and just swapped expiring contracts and bought out Dragic. So yeah,
We'll see where Dragic ends up going.
probably Milwaukee or LA
Yeah, not gonna. He'll go to a
contender
championship contender
or the Mavericks.
or the Mavs.
Actually, they don't need more.
I
point
don't know
guards.
how good
Never
he'll
mind.
end up being for any team with age stuff. We'll see what happens with that.
Depends on what he's expected to do. If he goes
Yeah.
to the Lakers and is expected to be the starting point guard,
That was quite the yawn.
then I don't know what's gonna happen.
I'm so tired.
I'm sorry. But then, yeah, if he goes to like the Bucks though, and it can be like a rotational piece. If he could just be better Jeff Teague from last season, then that makes a world of difference for the Bucks.
Theo, we're gonna get into your team a little bit here. Y'all did a little deal with
Your
the
fire
Hornets.
sale, yeah.
The Hornets got Montrezl Harrell, and in return, you guys get Vernon Carey Jr., Wizards legend Ish Smith,
Hype him up.
and
Yeah.
Boston's second rounder next season.
Don't forget that in that trade, the Hornets get Montrezl Harrell and locker room problems. It comes with it. It comes with Montrezl Harrell.
Can I speak on Montrez really quick?
Yeah.
Immediately, and I think it was his second game on the Hornets. That man was absolutely crying to the referees in overtime as he Cat straight up just targeted him on defense, and he kept having to foul Cat, and he was already blowing up on his teammates in the huddles.
No, I mean, it seems like so Dinwiddie and Montrezl Harrell had issues. KCP and Montrezl Harrell had issues. I don't think Beal and Montrezl Harrell had issues, but it seems like Montrezl Harrell had issues in terms of locker room stuff with like half the guys on the team, right? So just get rid of him. We're not paying him $17 million in the offseason or whatever he's going to ask for anyway. So I'm honestly glad we got rid of him. Ish Smith is everyone likes Ish Smith. We got a second, and Vernon Carey. I don't think he'll do anything. It's basically just a get rid of Montrezl Harrell and get anything back for him deal, which is good.
Do we want to just do the rest of the Wizards trades now, since it feels relevant to? Because
I want to save that one for the end.
Okay, yeah,
we're gonna
that's-
keep
that's
the
pretty
good
big.
trades for the end, so then
Sorry,
people
sorry.
will have to keep listening to us.
Yeah,
They
you
have
better
no
listen.
option.
Hey,
We've got like 10 minutes.
don't turn it off. Keep
Okay,
listening.
yeah, we have a few
Wait.
more. So
What time do we have?
We got like an hour and a half. We're just-
Oh, you said 10 minutes.
okay,
Yeah.
so do we want to fire through the 14 deal?
Let's go to the 4-team trade. This one I'm not going to even. Oh
Just-
wait, this I forgot it. Yeah, this one is kind of interesting. So
Yeah.
the Bucks are going to get
The
Serge.
box.
Whoa, the Bucks are going to the Bucks are going to get Serge Ibaka, a couple seconds, some cash considerations. The Clippers are going to get Rodney Hood, Semi Ojeleye, and
Vanja Markanovic.
some dude from Sacramento.
Dang.
Sacramento's
Can't be
going
that
to get Dante DiVincenzo, Josh Jackson, Trey Lyles, David Michelin. That's not his actual name, but that's easy for me to say.
You know,
How many years till Sacramento makes the playoffs?
All of them.
dude, the West actually isn't
and
like
a second rounder.
impossible.
And then Marvin Bagley has been freed from Sacramento, and he's going to
Pistons.
Detroit. They sent him
like
to
that.
Detroit.
So they basically took him out of a prison and put him in
a jail.
possibly a worse prison. Right
Almost
now.
a
like
reform
right
subject.
now.
Almost.
Well, no,
To be on the team, it's possibly a worse prison.
I was gonna say, John,
they took him from a prison to a psych ward. That's
I was
the
gonna say, John, I
perfect
appreciated the terminology of the word choice. You said freed. I picked up on that. Freed them from the team as well.
Okay.
It's a
Yeah.
interesting situation for every team.
Shout out to Kings though, getting Trey Lyles. He's a bucket. He's destroyed. Yeah, I've seen him destroy some teams.
Or getting
sometimes, so.
DiVincenzo. That's a good
DiVincenzo.
fit.
No,
bad.
seriously. Clearly the Kings, their goal was to get somewhat exciting and somewhat competitive, and they didn't do too bad. If that's their goal, I don't know why they would give up. Actually, we haven't talked about that yet.
Spoiler
We haven't
alert.
talked about it
They
yet.
trade somebody good on their team.
But overall, that seems like their goal this offseason.
If they just made this move, I think I would be maybe not a lot happier with their deadline, but I think their roster would fit pretty okay with the deadline. I don't know. But it's cool though.
Surge to the Bucks will be cool.
I really think he could be the missing piece they need. He could be their PJ Tucker
Yeah.
from last year.
I don't think they have a missing piece.
They do at
Honestly,
center now that Lopez has been hurt.
I guess they're still my favorites to come out of the East.
I think they're really good. I think they can match up really well against some teams too.
If you're the favorites to come out of the East, do you really have a missing piece?
Yes, every team does. Every team except for Phoenix. Every team except for Phoenix really does. And Phoenix is gonna be like super high in talent.
I think
Well, I can. Do you want me to go through this? I have a list
of what?
of like the contenders' weaknesses. The Bucks have been missing front court depth. The Warriors have been also missing like a true center.
Well, when Draymond's been out, like when they get Draymond back, I don't really see an issue.
But like size. Like what happens if they face like Joel? they probably Kevon Looney's probably gonna foul out. What else?
Kevin Looney.
Heat are missing healthy players. The Nets are missing the center. I'm not even gonna say Celtics because they've been good, but no, stop it.
All right.
Heat, Heat. I said healthy players.
Yeah.
And then is there anybody
Bulls.
else? Bulls, like somebody who can guard on the wing stopper. So Patrick Williams.
fair.
But,
Yeah.
so I'm not saying it's like a huge flaw, but it's something they could use.
All right, let's get to these trades real quick. It's pretty insignificant. The Celtics make a couple of deals here.
We lose Jaylen Brown.
No,
No,
that was a
we were-
joke.
we were-
that
we
was
were
a joke, Max. I'm
Messing
sorry.
with you.
We said
convinced
it
him
was a Sabonis for Jalen.
I literally had no idea. They're like, yeah,
Because
Jaylen
bro
Brown
didn't
got
even
traded.
fact check it. You were gonna come
course
in
I
here
didn't
and talk
fact
about
check
Oh
you.
no,
Jaylen
I
Brown.
like Jaylen Brown, bro. I like Jaylen
I know.
Brown.
I've been hearing a lot of good things.
Anyway, we scrolled back.
League sources tell Max Jaylen Brown is good.
That's how much I pay attention.
Max Voorhees is an insider, less reliable than ball
Dude,
sex.
you know what would be so funny if we released a news segment about basketball, just purely based on my knowledge about basketball. That would be hilarious. Be like tell
Max
me who's
is
on this
speculating.
roster.
Or we write like a
Pretty
news
sure,
script for you, but 50% of it is true and the other 50%
Yes,
is
and you have
false.
to figure out. Dude,
And you-
that would be hilarious. I'd sell
We
it
may-
too, bro. I could
We
sell
may
it.
do that next episode.
That would be so fun.
That would be a good free agency episode too.
Yeah.
Free agency.
Who
source.
we play for with Max Edition. Anyway,
We've done that.
tight. So the Celtics made some moves really quick. They traded Dennis Schroeder and a couple other guys. Oh, they got rid of Dennis Freedom, which is a win in itself. And they acquired Daniel Tice back, who I think is good for them.
Yeah.
And then they also acquired Dark White from the Spurs. And what was that for? Oh, yeah, for Josh Richardson, Romeo Langford, who's bad, and then 2022 first. And a 2028 pick swap. So, yeah.
They get some good depth there. Other teams kind of just shipping out guys that they don't need anymore because they're too old and they're going younger.
The name is Dark.
And that really does it for some of the insignificant trades. The Pelicans one was significant, getting CJ.
Well, why don't we talk about a trade rumor that didn't happen because we're talking about the Celtics right now.
Oh.
So
Can I talk about this?
there was
I'd not hear
something that was
Everybody
supposed to happen with the Timberwolves and the Celtics, and someone on this podcast was saying that he could pretty much guarantee that it was going to happen.
I did not say guarantee. I said I really.
I
hope.
said pretty much. You said you
I
said
said-
camera when
you
you
very
speak.
strongly
Okay, I-
suggested that you thought it was going to happen.
I really thought I really thought the Wolves were going to push harder for this. There was a deal. The deal was on the table, and it just didn't get fully ironed out. That was going to be Malik Beasley and a first rounder for Marcus Smart. I really, really, really hoped that was going to happen because I just think it would be hilarious to watch Patrick Beverley and Marcus Smart beat up teams for 48 minutes a night or 38 minutes a night when Patrick Beverley gets hurt every other game. But I just thought it would have been really, really interesting for both teams because the Celtics kind of need some spacing too. But I'm
Celtics
fine.
do not need any help. We just destroyed the 76ers.
They did.
Beautiful.
They embarrassed.
What
Someone.
happened? Where was Harden not playing?
No, he's
No,
not.
he
He's
was
not
And
playing until
I
after
don't think
the All-Star
Embiid
break.
was Embiid playing.
Yeah, he was.
He was. Oh my god.
Someone on Twitter said that's
Gotta
like
fix
that's
something
like
up.
flying a chick out and then having you get beat up immediately after picking her up from the airport.
he got 13 of his 19 points from the free throw line. Embiid.
He does
Embiid
that.
gets so many free throws. Dude.
There was a stat that was like expected foul or expected free throws over like where you're taking the shots. Embiid was like literally 8 percentage points like higher than everybody else on the list. And then Harden was like top 3 as well.
So is that like when you should get a foul?
Yes. So it's like it takes where you are, like where you're shooting your shots on the floor, and what you would be expected to get for the free throw line, pretty much. How often you would be expected to get to the free throw
How
line.
common it is to get fouled.
And I'm pretty sure Joel was like 15% more likely than an average player, which I think is also it's more than that.
I mean, he's great at flailing.
And nobody else was over 7.
He's also taking more shots than a lot of guys.
He was
That's part of the reason, not all of it. He does flop, but I'm saying that's some. Of it.
No, but like he was 15.6 more likely than the average player. The next closest was 7% more likely.
Who was
Refs
the
love
next
Embiid.
closest?
I think it was someone weird. I know Harden was 3rd. It was someone really weird.
Yeah.
And then Ant was like expected. He gets way less calls.
What did Ant have to do with any?
Yeah,
of
where
that?
Because
did
he was
Ant
on the
come from
opposite
this
side of the
conversation?
spectrum. It was him. SGA also was on that list.
Oh,
as
okay,
well.
never mind. Yeah.
It's really.
What about Josh Giddey? Where was Josh Giddey?
And Van Vliet.
What about Beal?
Beal wasn't on like the
No.
spectrum on either side.
But
Oh, he's not on
it's
the
really
spectrum?
funny to watch.
Oh, he's on the spectrum.
It's
now, I
really
can say
funny to
Don't
watch
say that.
when it's really funny to watch when Embiid will like flail for maybe 3/4 of a second and then immediately goes straight. It's like when someone laughs and then goes straight face. He like flails and then immediately goes back to normal position. You can tell it's straight up just
I
to
feel
get
like-
the foul.
I feel like we want to talk about these big trades now. So
Yeah, let's
how
get into the
about-
big trade. All right, before we get into the big trades, we are gonna go ahead and put it out there. We had some issues with the visuals for the first half of the episode. We don't know what happened. Blame Theo if you want to blame anybody.
I
but
hit
he
the
didn't even
record
do
button.
anything. So
I think it's because the way I have the phone,
Oh yeah.
the phone stand, the
Yeah.
front of it might touch
That made it
my
stop
phone
recording.
screen
okay.
and maybe exit the camera. But I don't see why I would do that if it's not moving at all. I
Yeah.
hit the record button and then it was on the home screen when I checked it. So
So yeah,
let's hope it's recording now. If it's not, you'll just get audio and the picture of our podcast logo on
Yeah.
YouTube, which is fine because honestly, most of you guys listen on Spotify anyway.
Yeah.
no. So I mean, if you are watching it on YouTube, sorry for the cut. I don't
You
know what else to
can-
tell you.
You
There's
can
not really
watch
anything else to
our
say.
logo sit there. That
Yeah.
would be a really
Our handcrafted logo.
Nice.
by me.
Good job, Theo.
It was
Uh,
me.
Anyways, we're gonna get to the big trades. Let's start off with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They get Karis LeVert and a 2022 second-round pick from Miami, and in return, the Pacers get Ricky Rubio,
expiring
a
contract.
first and 2 seconds. So they really just ship out LeVert for some cap space and some picks. I really love this for the Cavs. I know it had been rumored for a while, I think, but they get another guy to help them out. They've had a really good season so far. Definitely exceeded everybody's expectations. We had said we had projected them to be one of the worst teams of all time, and they proved us wrong. And LeVert is going to help them keep doing it.
Cavs fans, I'm so sorry. I know I don't think any of you listen to this pod, but if you did, you have full rights to bully me in the comments of whatever. You can go to my Instagram and just be like, "You're an idiot."
His
No.
address is no. I'm just kidding.
Okay, Sky Jackson.
So tomorrow Connor will be in this location at this time.
I feel like at some point we'll need to make a video of just clowning me for that take, which I feel like was a take that we all agreed with, but I was so
Yeah.
like aggressive
passionate.
about it that
At the end of the season, we find like everyone's bad takes and
We
just
should do that.
make like a
I
short
like it.
3-minute video of just making fun of them.
That would be.
that'd be really funny. I feel like I have a lot of them.
I feel like I've got a couple.
Everybody has. That's what makes
I
this
thought
fun.
Clay Thompson.
Can
wasn't
we
gonna
just
be
talk
good
about
next,
really
so-
quickly how close my bold prediction was at the start of the season to working? I said that LaMelo and Ant would be all-stars and lead their teams to the playoffs, and I was so close. If Adam Silver just didn't let Wiggins be an
You're-
all-star game
You're
player.
acting like the Hornets aren't the 9 seed, 1 game above the Hawks.
Hey,
1.5 games above the Wizards, I think. Either 1.5 or 2. So like
still better than him.
they're better than us, but at the same time, that doesn't mean we can't pass them at this point. They're not that good.
Yeah, so my bad. But anyway, sorry, we get back to the trade. Oh, and then for the Pacers, I like it. They're finally choosing a direction. They're willing to take assets in return for their players, as we saw later. And Pacers, thank you for just not standing pat and trying to trade for Gordon Hayward. Thank you. Okay.
I totally forgot to write this down. But on the topic of the Pacers, they made a trade that's more exciting than the one we just talked about. They send Domantas Sabonis, Justin Holiday, Jeremy Lamb, and a 2023 second rounder to Sacramento, and in return, they got an absolute W with Tyrese Halliburton, and they get Buddy Hield and Tristan Thompson as well.
The
This
corpse
was
of Tristan Thompson.
yeah,
Oh.
this was one of the more kind of out of nowhere trades.
Nobody expected this trade to
Yeah.
happen.
Nobody expected Tyrese Halliburton to get shipped out of Sacramento.
Like executives said that they didn't even know he was available. It's kind of funny because it was like a Kristaps situation when he got traded from New York. He just kind of, he was rumored, but nobody thought it would actually happen.
Yeah,
And then for the Pacers, I think that's a huge W. They finally have found like a point guard of the future. They're probably going to move off Brogdon in the offseason. But Halliburton in his last like 12 games has been averaging like 19 and 10 and on really good efficiency. And I think that he's also just a really cool like locker room guy. He's someone you want to build a rebound or you want to rebuild around. And he was like Sacramento's only hope, like source of hope. So, I mean, good for them for stealing it.
I don't think there's anything you can say about Halliburton. He's quickly made me a fan of his. I didn't know anything about him coming out of college, but just listening to podcasts and interviews he's done and watching him play the past 1.5 seasons, he's turned me into a big fan of his, and I feel bad for him because of how much he invested in Sacramento. But I think good things are coming for him in Indiana, and he, again, like you said, he's a great guy to build around. And as for Sacramento, getting Sabonis is cool. We'll see where it takes them. They can probably make a playoff push or a play-in push, rather.
Justin Holiday is cool too.
Yeah. I don't know what their direction is still. They get a guy who's going to help them win now a little bit more than Halliburton would, but they also lose the guy who is best for their future. And I know Fox is there, but I think Halliburton's still the better option.
I really wish that the Kings did this, but instead of trading Halliburton, I wish they would have traded Fox instead.
I
'Cause
think they
I
probably
think-
tried it.
I think
and-
Halliburton and Sabonis are a way more intriguing combination.
yeah.
Honestly, I mean, I agree with everything about how good Halliburton is for Indiana, but I've changed my mindset on this trade for Sacramento a little bit since it happened. I feel like, so I was talking about this a little bit with the Dante DiVincenzo trade, but like they kind of just added stuff to the point where now they have a little bit of hope for now. Like going into next season, you can look at them and some people might project, oh, they'll be the 8 seed. Like you might actually project that.
10 seed, but yeah.
It depends.
Regardless.
But regardless, like
And Westbrook
I
is
mean,
still in the Lakers this year.
teams surprise us all the time. Like
That's-
an 8 seed it would be surprising, but like it wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility
I
to
mean,
me starting.
I don't think
next
anybody
season.
predicted the Wolves would be this. I don't think any of y'all said the Wolves. Like y'all clowned me for it.
I said 10 seed. I remember.
And then I was like, I think they can be better than that. But like, I don't think anybody expected the West to like bottom out as bad as they did this year. So
Mhm.
I think there's definitely a chance for them. I actually kind of like they do still need some wings, but if they can find like a decent wing or two, it'd be cool. I honestly kind of wish though, since they're trading Buddy and Halliburton, I really wish the Kings found a way to get a first in that deal, even if it was like the Cleveland pick that was in the Blevert trade. So I don't know. It's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, to follow off what you said, it shows they're at least doing something.
Mhm.
They were in such an awkward situation before where they were like kind of building for the future. They were like on the verge of playing, but they didn't really have enough to like convince you that this is going to be a really, really good team in the future. So yeah, I mean, at least they show some kind of direction and that they're trying to win now. We'll see what they're able to do in things like free agency and with other trades and the draft. I don't think they'll get much either way.
The
But
magical free agency class.
right, I mean, they just need a couple veterans and they can make a play-in push and win more games than they have in the past couple seasons at least, and use that to build around. What are you geeking at?
I was like, Max looked over twice, so I looked over twice.
Also, I think Halliburton is great, but like right now is probably when his value will be highest because if I had to bet, I wouldn't say he turns into a superstar. I would say he turns into a very good player. But right now his value is very high, and I think they understand that Halliburton, Fox, Davion Mitchell, too many guards. They're just going to trade the guy with the most value for something in return that can help them win now.
Tyrese is such a watching him play. It's like I can't really think of somebody I can like profile him after, because he's got some like interesting stuff. If anything, I would say that he could be a borderline all-star for years to come, and that's cool. He could be like a 3 option on a maybe not on a really good playoff team. I think
he's got like this impact part to him.
Yeah, he's the leader.
Right, where he is going to make winning plays, and every night he's going to go give it his all. But at the same time, he is a guy that you like you said, you want to have, and
he's a tertiary.
He's going to do the right things on the court without doing a bunch of the wrong things, and I think that's kind of underappreciated at times. He's not going to make a bunch of mistakes night in, night out.
Good locker room guy. Guy you'd want dating your daughter.
Whoa. What?
I really hope I don't have a daughter.
Anyway, I do want to say
entirely different term.
I do want to say one thing though. I feel bad talking about the players' girlfriends. Tyrese's girl is probably very disappointed going from Sacramento in California to Indiana.
Why just his girlfriend? I think anybody would be disappointed.
Who says it's his girl?
Cali to.
Because
That's just such an awkward comment to make.
I don't know.
Clip this entire thing. It just does.
Not to throw out the flow of things, but
no, because what's it called? I've seen her like Instagram stories, and she goes to like a bunch of events in LA. So. Jonah set me up with her Insta. I just want that known.
Oh yeah, speaking of, I DM'd Zendaya on the Super Bowl. She didn't respond.
Hey, shoot your shot, Max. One day you'll hit.
Hey man,
no, we're already dating.
So. Said, yo, you sliding through tonight? She did not respond.
One day it'll be your mid-range jumper, not your 3-pointer.
I'm already dating her, so give it up, pal.
Did you hear she's buying a house with Tom Holland? Like a $4
Good for
million.
them.
You mean Jonah Middleton?
Like a $4 million house.
It should have been me.
Where is it?
I don't know.
Jonah wants
No,
that.
I think it's in London. I think it's
okay. That was gonna be my guess because I heard they were in London like last week
I'm
or
British.
so. And so
Jonah's flying to London this second.
no. Tom Holland. I'm
being,
enough of a fan of Tom Holland where it's excused.
Imagine being a citizen of a country where the entire country talks like Stewie Griffin.
They use Tom Holland.
Alex Fellamon, if you're watching this, it's no heat at you, but
We're gonna have to find some kind of way.
All right.
I know.
It's fine. And then let's get into the last trade. This one hits.
No, this is the second to last.
Sorry. I kind of forget about the other one. This one hits close to home with Theo. Do you want to give your thoughts on it, Theo?
Well,
it's Spencer Dinwiddie and Davis Bertans to the Mavericks, and in exchange, the Wizards get Kristaps Porzingis and a 2022 second-round pick.
Well, I'd like to correct you and say that it is Davis Bertans instead of Davis because you keep saying
until
Davis.
he hits his threes, he's Davis.
Been Americanized.
Davis Bertans.
No, he's still Bertans, but Davis.
All right. So we basically got rid of 2 people that are making way too much money and doing negative things on the court for Porzingis, who never plays, and a second-round pick. So I'll definitely get rid of Dinwiddie and Bertans, who I think Dinwiddie's contract was
2 more years after.
but it was like 3 years, like 61 million or 60.
So about 20 mil a year.
So on average, about 20
Oh
mil.
my god, that's so much.
And Bertans making 17 million a year, and he has 3 more years on his contract. So that's really bad. Considering Bertans is shooting like 30%, maybe less from 3. I think he brought it up a little bit, but 30% from 3.
Really quick, Kristaps is shooting 29% from 3.
Okay,
That's fine. That's
his
fine.
job. That's
No,
not his
Bertans
job
was paid to
necessarily.
shoot.
No, no.
She shot 20% for the first half of the year, brought it up to 30 now, guys. Whoa. That's all he does.
It's a W trade for y'all.
Dinwiddie, I was telling everyone that it feels like he shoots 20% every single game at this point. He started off well, so don't let his stats deceive you. He is probably averaging like 28% from the field in the past 40 games.
I can check his splits. Give me a second.
I think the Wizards easily won that trade.
And we got Porzingis, who maybe he won't play a lot because that's kind of the trend with him. But I'll take a chance on someone.
Yeah, he
Who-
only has 2 years, this year and next year.
I'll take a chance on someone who a few years ago looked like he was going to be one of the brightest stars in the league. He still has potential to do something. Not necessarily the brightest star in the league, but you
And
know
he's
what I'm
coming up
saying.
good.
I mean, I'll get rid of 2 guys who are being.
People said passing of the torch.
I'll get rid of
Dirk.
2
That's a
guys
Dirk.
who have negative impacts to get Porzingis.
Let me find one.
Yeah, it's a very low risk, high reward thing for y'all.
Dinwiddie.
Like you don't really lose anything, and you get something that can end up being really good for y'all. And if it's not, then so what? You got 2 bad contracts off your team.
Okay, I'm gonna say Dinwiddie's field goal percentage by month. In October, it started off as 42% and 40 from 3. Then it went down to 41 in November, 35 in December, 36 in January, and then 26 in February.
That's what I'm telling you. It just goes down and then down.
The
and then
3-point
down.
percentage just went straight down. I see why you'd be frustrated with him. But yeah.
But I don't know how we got them to throw in a second. I don't
How
know.
did you get them to do? Okay, so
Did you
I
trade
heard from the Mavericks' perspective, their angle was that they wanted that Jason Kidd really didn't like Kristaps, and that they wanted to find 2 smaller contracts that they felt they could more easily flip in the offseason rather than Kristaps with his anchor and his injury problems. Kristaps almost went to Toronto too. That was a discussed trade, but Toronto
Power
backed.
forward.
I mean, that's
Toronto backed out because they said they didn't want his injury risk.
that's fine. But what are you? Literally, they
think-
traded Porzingis for 2 guys with smaller contracts that they can flip
That don't fit.
that don't fit and also don't have value. Like everyone was so surprised that the Mavericks traded for them. Who are they going to flip them for if no one else is going to want them? I mean, I don't know.
It's like when I saw that Bertans got traded without any first round picks attached, I was legitimately shocked. So that makes me feel like the Wizards won the trade.
All right, I think we've come to our grand finale. This is one of the craziest trades
In a
we've
minute.
ever seen.
I actually knew some stuff.
So
about
should
this
we
one.
talk about the timeline?
That's how big it was.
Should we talk about that? He finally got traded, so we can finally say his name.
It's uncensored. He who shall be named now,
Is-
Ben Simmons.
Ben Simmons, layer of bricks.
It's over. Finally,
Layer of
it is
The reign of terror.
done. All right, so a little Brooklyn, Philadelphia swap. They're in the same. They're in the same division.
That
which is
doesn't
really,
matter.
really interesting.
Basketball.
Well, yeah, but it's something. So 2 people pushing for a title run, especially after this trade. We'll just get into it. Philly gets James Harden and Paul Millsap after an interesting saga for Harden, and Brooklyn was unhappy with things somewhat reasonably, and he said that Philly was his first choice when he was leaving Houston, so he ended up
Which-
getting what he wanted then.
Is probably a lie, considering he was quoted as saying when he got asked out of Houston last year, his words were, "I want to go to Brooklyn," but it could also be true.
So yeah, anyways, Philadelphia gets Harden and Millsap. The Nets, who I personally think won the trade, we'll get into that after or after this. They got Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first rounders, one in 2022 and
This
one
year.
in 2027.
Yeah, then that's one.
Yeah, what are our
Do we want to
initial
talk about it?
thoughts?
So let's talk about the Sixers' perspective
Okay.
first. So for the Sixers, I think this I mean they cashed in Ben Simmons, someone who wasn't playing for them, for somebody who is a top 10 caliber player when he's in shape, and it's not balding. But I don't know. Harden gives them a really interesting dynamic. They really will have to focus on finding ways to get him and Embiid like to play together because those two have been pretty ball dominant in recent years. So it'll be really interesting.
Well, one thing that isn't even necessarily like a basketball analysis, but I think no one's really thinking about it. When they lost Simmons, they lost a lot of size in their starting lineup, right? Harden is not Simmons size, but he's a big
How tall
big
is
guard,
Simmons?
especially for a
6'10".
point guard.
He's 6'10".
But especially for a point guard, Harden,
I swear these
Breaking
NBA players
news.
just keep growing, bro. Like for real.
They
especially
do.
for a point guard, I mean Harden is 6'6" and he's like pretty bulky and strong. I think that it's nice that they gained some size, just in their starting lineup, considering that's how they originally had the team built in a sense.
Yes. Although there is the one thing I will say about Philadelphia is that they have lost all floor spacing in this deal. I think that they are really going to struggle in certain aspects because their best spot up shooters, I think, on their roster right now are going to be Furkan Korkmaz. You probably don't want on the floor in a playoff game just because his defense is pretty meh. And then what are you having Danny Green as your spot up guy? It's interesting. I wish that they would have. This is gonna sound crazy, but I feel like if they could have traded Maxey and Simmons instead of all the other stuff they gave up instead, I would have done it.
I don't think the Nets would have accepted that
No.
What?
because of fit, because they're trying to win now.
I think they would have found like a 3-team trade.
Okay.
Reroute Maxey somewhere else.
Anything is possible at that point. Really goes whatever.
Yeah.
In terms of Philly, I'll speak on them first. I think having a perimeter scorer like Harden is obviously a lot better than Ben Simmons, just because of fit. You get a guy like Daryl Morey, you have a guy like Daryl Morey in the front office who's very, very familiar with Harden. Obviously, I think there's going to be a lot of ISO basketball. I think it's going to be Harden and Embiid kind of just taking turns, and I think there's going to be a lot of pick and roll basketball, which is going to be really, really exciting to watch in terms of, those two players. Harden plays well in the pick and roll. We've seen him do it before with some other big men. And Embiid is by far the most talented big that we've seen him play with. And so the pick and roll there is going to be a lot of fun. He provides a lot of perimeter scoring. I know they lose some shooting, but he'll make up for that in the slightest bit at least. I think Harden is going to need to move off the ball a lot more than he's used to,
He won't do
which
it.
he won't, and that could cause some problems. But I think if he can do that, if he can cut baseline, move around the perimeter a little bit, that's going to provide an entirely new dynamic to that team. I don't think that'll happen. I'd like to see it happen. I don't think it will. Millsap, kind of whatever.
Some depth.
Yeah.
It's fine.
As for the Nets, we can transition into them.
That's took a dub.
I think they
I'd
won
like
this
to share
trade.
my
Actually,
thoughts.
can I say one more thing
Yeah,
about
one
the
more thing.
Sixers?
Yeah.
So I'm not comparing the teams because they're different teams and they have different talents and stuff, but I feel like when LeBron and AD were together, everyone expected them to be good, but no one expected just the fact that that duo was so good that like no one could stop it. I feel like it might be similar with Harden and Embiid. Like we're not thinking about how good Embiid is and how good he's been this year paired with how good Harden usually is when he cares.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be so hard to stop. And I don't know.
So Harden.
I was
to
gonna say
stop.
that. Oh my god, dang
Maybe.
it! Stole
And
it.
when
They're Harden to stop.
they're on the floor together, I think we'll realize that. Like if you watch a game, it's like literally, what do you do?
We need
Oh,
a
yeah.
nickname for
They're
them.
gonna be really dominant.
The Flop Brothers.
But yeah, I was thinking about this earlier. You were talking about Embiid's foul calls, and they're going to draw so many fouls.
Oh, they're gonna foul
team.
oppose.
It's-
Actually,
oh.
you know what their strategy might be? just to attack the other team's center, and they'll all foul out by the second quarter. And then that way they don't need to worry about who's going to defend Embiid if everyone's 6'6". Exactly.
Tobias Harris is nice too.
He's probably going to have a super reduced role. I kind of feel bad.
That's kind of good. I feel like for him, like
Well-
from a team aspect, that's kind of what you want. Like you're paying him a lot of money, but you don't. I don't want.
What is he
Tobias
best?
being my second
I'm
option.
asking you. What do you think he's best at?
I think-
off the dribble creation.
I think he can move off the ball.
Better than.
And
yeah,
he's a guy who can make shots and move off the ball.
You got to take that corner three. He's gonna hit him with the jab step.
No,
dribble
he'll pump fake dribble into a mid range.
mid-range jumper. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
But at the same time, he's a guy who can definitely move off the ball, and he's a threat. So like
You know what,
you
that's
have a
true.
threat moving off the ball, and then
If
you have those
anything,
two guys.
His value might be like when one of Harden and Embiid are sitting, you can
Yeah.
play him and get reliable buckets. So honestly, cool.
So yeah, I mean, I think both teams win. But talking about the Nets, we'll get into them. I think they won this trade. In all honesty, at first I was a little bit more split, and the more I've thought about it, the more I think the Nets won this trade. Getting Ben Simmons, controversial, obviously,
I think that's going to work really well, though.
but I think the fit is great.
Because he doesn't have to shoot. He doesn't have to
Exactly.
shoot. We have Kyrie and KD. To
And
get
Seth
their
Curry.
shot.
Yeah,
And
I
Seth
mean,
Curry, too.
if I'm managing that team, Ben Simmons is going to be my center. He's going to play the five for me. He's going to be in a playmaking
At least
role.
at the end of games, yes.
Yeah, he's got guys around him that can shoot the ball. Sending Curry with him is really, really great. Having KD and Kyrie around him is awesome. He's going to have a reduced role offensively. Defensively, he can be the anchor that they need. He can provide defense, in the paint, on the perimeter. He can play make, which is also something they've kind of needed, especially with the absence of Kyrie Irving.
Both teams really got what they needed.
Yeah.
Like, no one really
And
got
that's
screwed
why
over.
I love this trade so much, because it's not like a fleece of one team.
Yeah.
I
I do kind of. The only thing is, I think that I know I'll stop, but everything that I liked about Ben Simmons, the fit in Minnesota, with besides like a cat and an ant, would be that he wouldn't have to take shots, and the Nets are just a better version of that. That's what I was going to. The only thing is, I kind of, I think it's gonna be interesting seeing how Simmons adapts to playing not center, but basically point center. I'm sorry.
Well,
I'm curious. I wonder if the Nets will try it out, or I hope in the buyout market they could snag a big that is not Enes Kanter, like a Moses Brown. I feel like it'd be huge for the Nets. Just a big body that
Mhm.
nobody wants to screw with.
I think in terms of fit and in terms of talent at this point and team building, they're probably the best in the league right now.
What's their death
The
lineup?
one thing that I'm concerned about would be KD is I don't think it works out this year. I don't think this gets them the championship this year. It just
No.
I mean it's 60 something games into the season making this trade and Simmons hasn't even played yet.
We don't know when he will
KD's
play.
still injured. Kyrie is only playing half the games. I mean, so I really doubt it works out this year. And then next year, KD's a year older. KD has been having some of these injuries more recently. It's just making a trade that doesn't necessarily help you this year as much is a little risky considering what KD's situation has been recently with injuries.
Also-
but in terms of talent and team building, I think it's made them pretty much the best in the league.
If we think about it, Kyrie still might miss half of the games next year too, if nothing changes.
Well,
right?
the thing is that recently
that'll
Adam
change.
Silver did come
Will it,
out.
though?
Adam Silver came out and said that he disagreed with how the rule is structured to basically
Don't say the word, by the way.
away player.
Don't say it.
Oh yeah. Away players, if they are unvaccinated and they go to the Nets stadium, they
That's not
can
the
still
word that we
play.
said.
Yeah, they can still play in the games. But Kyrie, because his residence is in New Jersey, is not able to play.
Oh, really?
So Adam Silver was saying that he doesn't like it, but rather than saying it should apply to all people, he just says the rule should be gotten rid of. And there's also a precedent now, considering DC just dropped their mask
saw that,
mandate for
actually.
inside stuff, and it
Except for
gives,
schools.
yeah, but that's different.
Yeah, true.
Uh,
That doesn't really
It
apply.
gives New York a precedent. So I think something is going to give in the next couple months.
There's only so much that people are going to put up with, and at this point, people have made up their minds about how they want to stop it
Yeah.
or not stop it.
And plus, the Nets attendance is so bad they might need to.
Right. So I mean, at some point, people are just gonna live. With
My question
the
is, do
reality.
we think that'll be next year?
I think so.
Next
there's
next
a
year
lot
for
of
sure.
time.
I don't know if it's gonna
and,
happen this year, but next
You
year.
know, I think eventually it'll become less of a factor. As for getting Curry,
Yes.
That's
I think
awesome,
that's
actually.
that's incredible. If you're gonna get a guy like Simmons, Curry is the guy that you want right next to him.
The
in terms of
amount
guys
of-
that aren't superstars.
The amount of 3-point spacing you have between Patty Mills, Seth Curry, and Joe Harris is absolutely insane. You can imagine a bench unit with them just gunning, just
Oh, yeah.
chucking threes. I think their death lineup would probably be like Kyrie or Patty Mills, depending on where you're playing. Seth Curry, Joe Harris, and then KD and Simmons.
What is up with Harris?
He's
what
been
are-
hurt.
I know, but what is up with
He's
his?
gonna be back soon, from what I've heard.
Because I haven't heard any reports about it, and that's a little concerning because it's hard to just. I know you're saying he's part of the death lineup, but he's been out a while, right? And just plugging him back in, it's hard to include him as a guy who will be
Never
Playing
mind. Oh wait,
well
come
enough
on,
for a
Warriors.
death lineup. You see what I'm saying?
Ben Simmons won't be happening with concerning Joe Harris injury update. So maybe he won't be back. Oh well.
Yeah, and even if he does get back, he's
that's
been
why
out
they
for
got
so
Seth.
long that I don't feel like you can just plug him
No.
back in and say, "Oh, he's a part of the death lineup."
25 minutes ago, Nets Joe Harris could have second surgery on ankle.
Oh, he's probably out for the year. Though.
Yeah, no, I think he's out for the season. But again, like you talked about, this is a team that really should focus on next season, getting back healthy, and really getting that team chemistry up during this season and the off season.
The best thing about this trade for the Nets might be that they have unscrewed themselves with their future. I feel like is the best way of putting it.
Yeah.
They have given themselves a way out. So if this all blows up, they have Simmons, who should still be young and tradable, who they can flip for assets, and that 2027 Sixers pick. There's
Would be
no
really,
way.
really good.
There's no way Embiid is still healthy at that point, and Harden's going to be gone. So do you trust? I don't know if they will build up a team good enough by then that pick won't be really valuable.
No, I think that's a really good pick for them to get.
Yeah.
As for Drummond, we only have a couple seconds left. I actually kind of like it for them. He's not going to have this super big role. He'll provide some rebounding, which is something that they've really needed. Defensively, we'll see what happens, but it can't hurt to have a big body there. But yeah, that's really all that we have from the trade deadline.
And I hate Drummond. I agree with the fact that he can get a bunch of rebounds and make no impact. But when you're on the Nets with the way their team is constructed,
Get boards.
and they need a center so badly, and they need boards so badly, it's good.
All right. Again, this is coming out over the weekend. We're recording on a Wednesday. We should be back soon, hopefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, stay tuned. Make sure you follow, comment, subscribe, get engaged on social media. We had a lot of fun over the trade deadline. So yeah, we'll see y'all later.
Thank you guys.
Man.
Later.